Now, so myself and Ziggy were gonna take one look at this Lotus Evija special event, which is upcoming, or as of the upload of this video, probably now just starting. But we wanted to kind of take a look over this and kind of give people a bit of a warning, sort of like we did on the Jesco event. For people who watch a lot of my content, I just wanted to say thanks very much for all the subs. I really do appreciate all of those and the comments that you guys leave in my videos. Those are absolutely amazing. And if this is your first time on my channel as well, guys, can I just say, please, it does make a huge difference to my channel and the videos getting pushed out to more people. So I massively appreciate the subs and likes. Since this is a long video, my sub begging won't be for probably another 20 minutes or so. So I'll say that now and get it in there. But yeah, to anyone who has clicked sub, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate that so much.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking a little bit about the Evija itself, along with the support cars needed for the event and where you need to have those support cars in terms of rank and epic import parts. A little bit about the Honda Civic and its place in this event and how you're going to obtain it through the event, or possibly a separate car hunt that's going to be alongside the event. And just sort of the cost involved overall in terms of tokens, how it's going to kind of hit your token savings and chances of people actually unlocking it overall, and whether or not you want to really be spending those tokens now when there's a few things in the pipeline in terms of other events like the Tech Rules Grand Prix, the Batista event, and the Rimac.
And yeah, I'll throw like chapter marks for all of those parts down below in the playlist. So if you want to know a particular thing about the car itself, the support cars required, and the say upcoming events, there'll be chapter marks down below for all of those points as well, guys.
Yeah, and just keep in mind a lot of this is us speculating based on how this event played out in the global version of the game. We do know at this point, we have had confirmed that the support cars are the same. So we're expecting a lot of the requirements are going to be the same, because for the most part, these events have pretty much been copy pasted from the mobile versions with the exception of a couple things here and there.
One of the first things you wanted to take a look at here is just the actual prize car at the end of this, because normally these special events ended up with like the Jesco or the Bugatti Chiron, like high-end S-rank cars. But yeah, the problem with this event is the Lotus Evija. If you haven't noticed, it's in your garage right now. It's a B-class car. So like you're talking about this big event that's going to be quite costly for a, mid-range kind of B-class car.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a terrible car. It is high-end B class, meant to compete with the Huracan and the Apollo. A lot of people who play the game on the global version of the game, which is the PC and mobile version, they do consider the Huracan to still be better than this car, even when it's maxed out, or at least where most people are going to have it, which is going to be much lower than that when they finish this event. And that's kind of just
Yeah,
because the upfront cost of just getting the car is going to probably put most people in a position where they're just not going to have many tokens left over to actually then invest on starring this up to the point where it's going to be competitive.
yeah, because that's the thing. It's like say those cars you mentioned, like the Hurricane and the Apollo, definitely. Like we've had so many car hunts for those two different cars, or car hunts, unleashed events and special events. So like if you're playing this for quite a while, you'll probably have the Hurricane Spider Evo or the Apollo N in a position that's far, far higher tuned. I think the last time there was a car hunt for the Apollo N, like I was grinding out blueprints for that just to convert them to trade coins. So if you've already got one of those B class cars at max, like chances are this is going to be extra fuel units for those, and really like it's not going to be filling in a gap that you have in your garage already, like if you have those cars pretty much.
Yeah, and then you kind of have to look at, do you really need another high-end B class car? Is there some big purpose that it's going to fill for you in your garage? For most people who have high rank Huracan and Apollo at this point, probably not, because you're probably not spending too much time in Gold League and multiplayer to begin with. So, you know, by the time you get out of Gold League, you've really done it with the Grand Sport, the Huracan, the Apollo N. You probably aren't having too much of an issue there.
No, and like even those cars, like because of the fact that like if this was an S rank car, at least it's case of like if it was a S class car which mirrored another S class car, you would say that like, oh well, yeah, sure, it's a clone of this other S class car, but at least then you've got more fuel units for it, because those ones are like, yeah, at the moment they take like an hour and a half to 2 hours to kind of cool down and refuel, and they have like two and well, they have 3 and 4 units of fuel. Whereas, like, say, if you're using the Grand Sport, if you're using the Corvette Grand Sport and the Hurricane Spider, like, both of those cars, if you're going back and forth between them, they've got 8 fuel units between them, and they'll refuel in, like, half an hour ish, kind
40
of.
minutes, I think.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that region. So, like, if you're bouncing back and forth between the two of them, you're pretty much not going to be, like, having too much downtime to need another really good B class car, like, in that set of cars.
Yeah, and I think just so people are aware, because I think you might have some viewers who watch this from the global version of the game and maybe play on PC. Refuel times are a lot longer over there because they can watch ads to reduce the time. Switch doesn't have
Yeah.
ads, so we have just naturally lower times to account for that. So our times are kind of like what you'd be adjusted to on global after watching ads. So yeah, it's generally around 40 minutes for the better B class cars.
Yeah, they got cut down to a quarter of what they had been originally, because there was, like, originally the S class cars were 6 hours, and they got bumped down to about an hour and 20 minutes, and the B class cars were around 4 times what they are now. So it was somewhere in the region of 2 hours ish for those cars, but they all got pumped down quite a bit. So yeah, like it is just, it's one of those ones where like you want to start off with this event knowing the fact that like the end result of this, if you're gonna scrape by just barely at this and like burn out all your tokens, like your prize at the end of this is gonna be a moderately upgraded B class car, which is on par with some cars which are freely available in car hunts and unleashed events. Just regarding this car's use, then, like outside of multiplayer, when it comes to other events, the Evija hasn't been a support car for any events on the global version of this for. I think you mentioned it earlier. It's like a
Yeah,
year nearly.
yeah, it took about a year to show up because it I think global version got this particular event in January 2020, and they just wrapped up their McLaren Speedtail event, and that was the first time it appeared, I believe. I do think it was used burst of speed, but at that point you were able to get the car through the burst of speed packs. So if you had, for example, gotten close in this event, maybe you got, I think it's 55 required, so maybe if you got 50, you can just get the last few of them through those burst of speed packs for 750 tokens in a mixed pack.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like this car like has the potential to be a 4K rated B class car, but at the same time, it's a 6-star B class car. So the only other one like that is the 911 GT3, which I only unlocked at 1 star, unfortunately, because that is like a beast. At that, we had a trial of that at max speed recently, or max tuning recently, and that was really cool. But like the Avija has 240 blueprints to get it from nothing all the way up to max. So like chances of getting that anywhere close to max tune from this event, it's pretty slim. Like this is going, like one of the main things you want to kind of point out with this is the fact that it's going to be very few people coming away from this event with this car or fail.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into what we're looking at in terms of the requirements for the support cars. We've got the 3 cars that are very simple to actually unlock that most people are going to have, which are the Elise, the Evora, and the H2. But the problem is, for this event, you're going to need to have them at gold, which means you're going to need to have them fully maxed out, all blueprints, all upgrades applied, including the epic import parts, which is kind of a big ask, especially on a car like the Evora, where it's not like it's been car hunted recently. And unless you knew in advance to get the epic import parts from the Legend store, you're going to have to go through some other routes that they're going to give you in this event.
Yeah, and like say, I was just going through there in my garage. Like, if you've been playing this game for a while, like you will probably have picked up the Lotus Elise Sprint, and it's had a couple of car hunts, and it's been involved in a few events which have chucked it out some epic import parts. Also, the epic import parts for this one are in the store quite a bit, and as a beginner car, like the Elise Sprint is really really cool. So I think a lot of players would probably like naturally kind of have gone after that car, and the H2 speed, like we've got another car hunt for that just finishing up now. So we'll have the riot for this in the next couple of days. So if you haven't got the H2 speed tuned up properly, like if you're missing epic import parts for that, definitely like do what you can to place a good 5% time in the event that's coming up. If you've got this one like max blueprinted but are missing epic import parts, you want to be chasing those down the next few days. But yeah, that the other one then, say like the Avora Sport 410, I golded this one because I knew in advance that it was going to be used for this event. But if you didn't know that, there is no reason to have this car tuned up. Like, it is a piece of not good car. Trying to keep my PG rating, but yeah, it's not good. I genuinely, I've raced this one a handful of times. It's a C class car that's 2K rated. It's insane. Like the fact that this could be the make or break point for people not completing the special event, it would be a real shame. But yeah, like those cars are required. The three of those are required going into this event, and they have to be gold to be able to complete this one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much in the same boat. I knew the Evora was going to be needed here, so I did go ahead and get the epic import parts when I had the opportunity to do so. So I'm covered off on these three, but then we get into kind of the harder back end of the requirements. So the next cars we're going to be talking about, Aston Martin Vantage and the Zero Uno, which at the time we're recording this is just wrapping up its first Unleashed event. We should point that out. First time the car's been available since they updated the game. And the Civic, which so far is not available at all. You can sit out in the first look that they're doing right now. And as many people have noticed, it's a boat.
I pulled that up here just between us because of the fact that like that first look event, if you've played that and you thought anything other than this car is bad, you need to try some of the other cars in this game. There is 73 of them apparently, which I have unlocked, and like the Civic is one of the weirdest handling ones ever. Even like you get it maxed out completely, and I have no idea why they offered this as a maxed out thing. If this was to lure people into spending tokens on this, this was a bad way to do it because this car is trash. Like it just waddles all over the place on the track, and it just shaves off speed. Like if it even thinks about doing a turn, it just seems to lose all its speed. I've no idea how to drive this car properly, and I think there is no way to drive it. I don't know, is that just me? But
well, they picked the perfect track to showcase its strength.
Oh yeah,
too.
Yeah, how about
here's a car that can't turn, let's put it on Osaka.
Yeah, that'll get people really gearing for this car. But like the thing is, you need to have this one pretty much golded for like, well, the easiest pathway to get this from the event is like effectively to gold the Honda Civic and then to have 7 stars between the other 2 cars.
Correct, between the Vantage and the Zero Uno, which is that would require spending quite a bit of tokens now on the Zero Uno, which there are reasons to do that, as much as it hurts, because the car is not exactly going to be a beast, or clearly if you've been using it, you know it's not the best. It's a low end B class
car.
I
was just gonna, but before going back to those guys, I was just gonna say with this Honda Civic, like the Honda Civic is just used for the Evija event. And I know that it's kind of one of those cars that people like. There is a fan base for the car in the driving community. Like, it is one of those ones that's like, yeah, held up as kind of a symbol of awesome boy racer driving skills.
Sure.
But in terms of this game and what it actually does on the track, like, it's used as a portion of unlocking the Evija. But if you're not going to get the Evija at the end of this one, like really really think long and hard about the fact of like, are you going to sink a ton of tokens into this Honda Civic where this is going to possibly cost you down the line in terms of getting like the Batista or the C2 unlocked? Like if this is going to tank your tokens, really think like that what you're getting out of getting the Honda Civic. If you're missing those other cars, all you're going to be getting is the Honda Civic. You're not going to be getting the Evija anyway. But back to those other two cars though. The Zero Uno and the
Vantage. Yeah, so the Zero Uno and the Vantage.
the one.
There's a couple interesting things to point out here. One is that on the global version of the game, they never got a Vantage Unleashed, so that is something that is nice. And if you were around during the Senna event, there were dedicated packs for it, if I recall correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I believe the Vantage was used in the Senna event, so there were people who had the car unlocked already and had 2 to 3 stars on it, so it wasn't too crazy to max out.
It was there was an event before that which popped up, which gave you enough blueprints to almost unlock it, and then I think it might have been an Unleashed. I could be incorrect about that, but we had an opportunity to get some blueprints for this. But yeah, I've got that at 4 stars, and courtesy of my amazing gambling skills, I have my Zero Uno here, which I actually brought up to 3 stars, which makes my mistakes with single packs even worse and more annoying. So I bit the bullet and did this on my own in shame and didn't even upload a video because, yeah, I made a horrific mistake there. That was some of the worst gambling choices I've ever made in any video game.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons where I was actually thinking afterwards, like, Asphalt 9 is gambling and shouldn't be played by children. Or idiots.
Yeah, and then for me, after waffling back and forth on the decision all week and annoying everybody in the Grand Tour Discord about it, I did eventually go ahead and 2-star the car, with the thinking being, it's going to be used in that Rimac event. It'll save Syndicate coins there, so it's a future planning move. And
yeah,
on top of that, it was just a matter of, let's get this out of the way now. And it's going to hurt now, but there's going to be time to recover the tokens between the Evija and the Batista event, especially if I'm not going to go too hard on this event. So not too big of a deal there.
The only way I can describe paying tokens into the Zero Uno is effectively ripping off a band-aid before the cut has happened, because like it's gonna hurt at a point and it might as well hurt now. Like, because this car is used in the Evija and the Rimac special events, and that other one is like a Syndicate coins thing. And yeah, like Ziggy was saying, it's just a case of, like, realistically, I didn't want to be going into those events missing it, so that's why I came back here and got that 3rd star for it right now, even though, like, that's paying off a debt that's not going to exist for a couple of months. But since I had the tokens, yeah, I just bit the bullet now and did it. Like,
yeah, it's kind of putting a down payment on the Rimac, basically. So for those of you who played the Jesco event, you remember how it went down with the G60. If you were around for the G60 car hunt back in April or whenever it happened, it saved you tons of Syndicate coins in the Jesco event and effectively guaranteed you the car, or close to guaranteed you the car, as long as you had 12,000 tokens or something like that.
12,000 tokens, yeah. And the other support cars.
Yeah, so not like it was a small requirement there, but it just made it that much more possible for anybody who is playing for a long time. So it's the same concept, I think what a lot of people say is if you get the Zero Uno to 3 stars now, it can almost guarantee that you get a 4th star on the Rimac. A lot of people who played on Global, because you couldn't get the Zero Uno at any point before that event, they only came away with a 2 or a 3 star car, I believe. So
yeah, like,
or I think I can't remember if you needed to get it to 3 stars to unlock it, but people came away with at best a 3-star car unless you put money into the event. Although that's getting into a different topic.
Yeah. Don't gamble, kids. But like the other one then that you have available from this is the Aston Martin Vantage, and again that's one that, like, it was available previously. So one of the things about these support cars that in this event is like you will likely see them appear in support card packs, which will again have like a high drop rate thing of like say the 20% plus or so. But depending on the support cards that might appear inside those, just keep in mind that say if it covers a span of all of them and potentially has zero Uno packs inside there or Vantage GT12 cards, just yeah, you're also going to obviously have like Lotus Elise, Lotus Evija, and the H2 Speed, whose blueprints are completely common as mud basically, and are almost certainly for anyone who's in line for unlocking the Evija. Like you're gonna just have those all converted back to trade tokens if that is the route that they go down.
Yeah, I think someone had mentioned on the Asphalt 9 Discord that they had taken a look at a screenshot from this event when it ran on the global version. And the Aston Martin did have its own packs during this event, you know, the typical 10% drop rate packs that you would get during an Unleashed. But since we had the car in an Unleashed, I'm not sure if they'll change that or if they'll, you know, just kind of leave it the same. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
clarify again, of course, like all of the information that we're going off is 100% off of that the global version of the game. Like they may change this one up a bit. They haven't changed up very many of the events at all so far, except for like the Chiron had a few changes for cars that weren't released yet on our version, so they had to shuffle it around. But as the Switch is kind of catching up to the global version now, and they've got time to kind of like balance it out, like all the cars and stuff seem to be in place for it to be basically a copy paste exactly of the global one.
Yeah, the way they seem to change these events rather than actually change the event itself is to change the things that happened before the event. So, for example, with the Jesco event on Global, there was no G60 car hunt. That event was the first time that car was even available. Likewise, with this event, those guys never had a Vantage Unleashed before the event happened. So again, it's same with the Zero Uno as well. The first time that
That's
was
zero,
available was in the
yeah.
Rimac. The change to the event is happening before the event, if anything.
Yeah, it's to kind of forearm us a small bit for it. Like, I mentioned as well, by the way, of the pathways to go. Like, there is a couple of different ways you can do it, but basically, of those three other support cars, the Zero Uno, the Vantage, and the Honda Civic, the thing is, one of those will need to be golded, and you need 7 stars between the other cars. And they then need to be tuned up. But the thing is, the Honda Civic needs 4 epic import parts, and like based on the global version of the game, the easiest path to take is to max that one out, 4 stars it, get those epic import parts for it during events during this upcoming special event, and then use the Zero Uno and the Vantage at a combined 7 stars between them. So like it doesn't matter if you've got your Zero Uno to 4 and Vantage to 3, or any combination of 4 stars across those two cars should get you the 55 blueprints that required.
Yeah, and there should be ways to obtain epic import parts through the event itself. They're just not going to be very fun and not things that you're going to want to do. So you're going to put again, if it's the same as how it was on Global, there was a epic import part hunt, which works like a car hunt, except you run a race like 100 times with one class of a car to, you know, get one epic import part somewhere in those packs, and then rinse and repeat for the other classes of the cars that are in the event to get the other epic import parts. Or alternatively, I believe you could spend like 1,000 tokens for a pack that will shoot out some epic import parts, hopefully. But clearly, you don't want to be spending 1,000 tokens for epic import parts when they're typically something you would get in the Legend store for trade tokens or for free through a car hunt or an Unleashed, just by placing well enough on the leaderboards.
To be fair, I'm getting kind of like PTSD flashbacks, kind of thinking about opening any packs right now. So, yeah, I'm good for it. Don't gamble, but yeah, like it is gonna be a fairly costly event, and the main thing is just a case of again like all the time looking through all these hoops and all the costs. The Evija is a B class car that's you probably already have similar clones to it in your garage.
Yeah, and it is again just a bit unusual because they rearrange the events again for the Switch, probably to keep us on our toes and keep us guessing. They threw an SLR Unleashed in there after the Jesco event, which kind of threw everybody off the scent, making us think that the Batista would be coming next, because anybody who, you know, follows what happens on Global knows that the SLR was a support car for the Batista, but then they randomly threw in the Vantage, randomly threw in the Egoista, and then, oh, look, here's the Zero Uno, which never had an Unleashed. And why would you give an Unleashed to a car that is like, low class B? Bit unusual. So yeah, it's all just to kind of make it as possible as they can for us to unlock the Evija, though I don't know that it's super helpful. So yeah, we're going out of order again, and one thing to keep in mind is that could be a good thing if you're kind of out of the running for this car. If you think that you're not going to be able to have what you need to unlock it, no problem. Just save tokens for now. Take what you can from the event, save tokens. This car is going to be in a burst of speed later. You can get it later at a better time. And you'll just have a lot of resources piled up for when the Batista rolls around, probably next. Or alternatively, that Tech Rules Grand Prix, which I'm sure is going to get dropped on us at the most inopportune times. Because again, that's an event that was just kind of dropped in there 2 weeks into the Evija event on Global, from what I understand. So these things were running side by side. So that's going to be something that's going to require your time and tokens as well if you want to get invested in that car, especially if you
Yeah,
look at the blueprint requirements on it, which are steep.
that was kind of one of the main things I had wanted to also just chat about, is the fact of like the chances of unlocking this car as you come into the event. And like, chances are, unless you are prepared for this, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to just look your way through this without like hitting either like at stop point, which is just going to absolutely kill your progress through this, or else without like looking at spending thousands of tokens on epic import parts, blueprints for cars, and that Honda Civic. So like, this is one of those things again where like we wanted to kind of jump in this as fast as possible before people started their way down the rabbit hole, just to let you know the fact that like, unless you're willing to spend a lot of stuff in advance, like if you've prepared your garage and have it somewhat similar to say mine is at the moment, like the chances are this Evija event should be a case of just like knocking through those stages, and it should be easy enough. And like, some people will say the fact of, well, this is an easy event because all you need to do was know in advance and get all the cars ready. But the thing is, obviously, like, not everyone would have been doing that. And if you're, say, like a casual player to the game, especially, chances are your garage isn't going to be ready for this. And, like, just know the fact, again, it's going to be one of these things where, like, Gameloft are very good at doing that kind of boiling the lobster mentality, where, like, it will start off easy and you'll get through a couple of the stages, and then you'll probably hit little barriers that's going to slow you down a small bit, and then you're just going to hit onto like completely brick walls of this, where it's just a case of like, you would have needed to be getting your stuff prepared months in advance. So just like, basically keep that in mind. Like, your chances are, if your garage isn't ready now, it's not magically going to get ready during the event.
Yeah, one of those things where if you weren't ready in advance, it's going to be tough to overcome it just through tokens. And even if you have a lot, I mean, I have no shortage of tokens right now. I could easily try to, pay my way through this event with tokens. But big picture, Batista event coming up sometime in the future, Tech Rules, Rimac, that stuff is just more interesting to me. This is not, this is just another B class car. It's a good one. I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's a bad car. You shouldn't go for it if you have the ability to do so. If your garage is ready for it, or if you've got a token stash where you can, get through. Maybe you only have like a couple walls, a couple hurdles that you need to get through. I think you should go for it and unlock it if it's feasible for you without kind of bankrupting your token stash. But I don't think you should kind of, you know, leave the cupboard
yeah,
dry to get this car.
definitely not, because like the other two events that are coming, the Remix C2, the Concept 2, and that Batista, like those are both like beasts in terms of like crazy electric car acceleration, and the Rimac is just supposed to be another top speed monster kind of thing.
Yeah, and I want to point out the Batista event specifically, just because it's not just the Batista that you're going to be looking at in that event. It's the Vanda Electric Dendrobium and the Aston Martin DBS Superleggera. So you need to cover off on those two cars. The DBS should be attainable through the event, again, if it's similar to the global version. So you won't necessarily need to go crazy spending tokens on that. The Dendrobium, however, if you're interested in that car like I am, which is something I've been waiting for forever to,
Have it here.
yeah, which is why I was disappointed that we were getting this event first instead of the Batista, but it is what it is. But yeah, you're looking at another kind of pack only car there, similar to the GT3 or the I'm blanking on what the other one was off the top of my head, but basically you're going to be spending tokens on packs for that car 100%.
But like the thing about that is like you're talking about the two differences. Like the Evija special event is a special event where like the support cars for it are a Honda Civic and a Zero Uno, which are kind of duff cars, and the end result is a B class relatively duff car. I mean, it's it's not a bad car. It's just not an amazing car.
Yeah, and it's just like you have to expect that what you're going to end up with, the version of the car that you're going to end up with, is probably not going to be worth it unless you have very deep token reserves. Because the Huracan's still going to smoke it. If you're going up against gold Huracans, which a lot of people have, that car is going to smoke your 2-star or 3-star Evija. So you got to just keep that in mind.
It'll be the same as, say, like, even where I was talking to you before we started recording this, but about the Jesco. Like, we came away from that Jesco event, a lot of people with, like, say, 1 and 2-star versions of that Jesco, which is a cool car, but at the same time, it's not, like, a blazing supercar, just because of the fact that, like, if you kind of just barely unlock those cars, they're not going to be able to, like, be competitive against, like, cars which are more freely available in game, which might be like potentially weaker than, say, a maxed out Jesco, but will still be able to toast like a 1 and 2-star version of the Jesco, say, for example.
Yeah, and you and I are a little bit different in our takes on the Jesco. I know you don't like it very much. I like it, but I understand where you're coming from, because it is kind of a situation where, all right, you unlocked it. What are you doing with it right now? The only thing you can really use it in is Legend League. And of course, as soon as everybody unlocked that car, they cut Legend League to 1 lap in multiplayer 1. So that's a car that really shines more on 2-lap tracks, because when you get a 1 lap in the Jesco and people see you're in that car, they will whack into you to slow you down at the start so that they can
that, and the fact
away.
that I think some cars like that seem to get some extra attention in multiplayer from people who didn't get to unlock it. I have a feeling now and again when you drive one of those, it was like the Sin originally, when the Sin was like firstly like really difficult to unlock. I was like going into multiplayer
as well.
Yeah, it's like you take that thing into multiplayer and someone's going to 360 you through a wall just because it's like, you've got this car.
Yeah, that car, it's a lot more common now to where people aren't so bothered about it. But I remember when I first unlocked it and started taking it into multiplayer, you kind of put a target on your back for a little bit.
Yeah. No, so I think we'll wrap it up there about this one. Like, this is going to be an event where, because of the way my garage is prepped for this, I'm going to be going into this one hopefully with the aim of coming out with this car. As much as, like, it's not amazing, I'm not going to be blowing too much tokens if this turns out to be incredibly costly. Hopefully it keeps in track with the global version and what we kind of known coming into this. So I will be gunning for the car and covering videos and stuff about it.
Yeah, and as for me, it's going to be a little bit of a wait and see approach to see how things play out with the Civic, because that's going to probably be my best route here. Is if I have a shot at golding that and there are Vantage packs available, then I could get that car start up enough to kind of seal the deal just based on my current token stash. But a lot of ifs in there, so definitely a wait and see game for me. But if I don't miss it, that burst of speed pack will come eventually, and I'll just close it out then.
Yeah, and the thing as well is, like, if you're doing it with the route of like the Civic and possibly bringing up that Vantage, like the Vantage is actually one of the few cars in this whole event, which is really cool. Like, if they do have the standalone packs for that, that's definitely not going to be a bad thing to come away from this with, because like we had an opportunity at racing that maxed out recently, and like it handles very nicely.
Yeah, it's basically kind of a second Corvette Grand Sport. They're pretty similar. Although I do hear that the Grand Sport does eventually get a nerf that we don't currently have in our version of the game. So the Vantage will ultimately be the better car in the long run. But for now, it is kind of like
No.
a kind of like a duplicate car.
Yeah,
But that's not a
don't
bad
take
thing.
the grand sport away from me. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, if you've watched all the way this way through the video, hopefully this has been some useful information from you. I'd just like to say thanks very much again, Ziggy, for like joining me and hopping on here and trying to forewarn people about what to expect with this, and hopefully look forward to what to expect in this event in the next coming weeks and so. And yeah, thanks very much for joining and chatting away. Hopefully you had a bit of crack as well.
Oh yeah, always happy to join.
Ah, brilliant. And yeah, guys, as always, like a sub button up here over my head. There might be some videos appearing over where Ziggy is right now, though, with my usual borders and stuff. I'll see what I can do. I think it might just directly overlap you. My apologies. And yeah, guys, thank you very much for the subs and the really good comments. I appreciate those. And hopefully, like I said, you find this useful. And yeah, we get yourself some nice cars coming up in this event. And if not in this one, yeah, save up those tokens. And you have the Batista and the Rimac down the line anyway to look forward to. Alright, guys, good luck and drive safe.